It's time for the best 60 minutes of your life. This is the Homer Hour, broadcasting live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Alongside ESPN's John Anderson, here's Emmy Award winner Homer.
The best 60 minutes of your day, because you will learn what John Anderson is thinking about today. For those of you new to the John Anderson Homer Hour, most people know that he's got a little sugar, but most don't know that he's got a little salt, too. You never know when it's going to show up. And the only thing I want you to know above everything else,
here it comes.
7, 2.5, or 220. 220. 220 something. 220 meters?
Just 220 is how they say that.
Oh, 2 meters and 20 centimeters or what? Well, right. I don't know what, is that right?
That's what it means, but you just say 220.
Yeah, and when we do a show in Europe, I'll say 220. As long as we're in the United States, it is 7, 2.5.
That's fine. There you go.
I would only hope that when people see you, they say that. Just like, I don't know if you were watching the night that the show was on. What's Cooper's name, who's on CNN?
Anderson Cooper?
What?
Anderson Cooper?
Anderson Cooper. He got so mad at somebody, he said, "Why do you have to be a Richard on this show?" Only you didn't say Richard. I was shocked. I don't know that I've ever heard that phrase used. Have you?
I have not.
Right. And so he just went on. Nobody reacted like, whoa. So after a commercial break, he came back and said, "I'd like to apologize for my language," or whatever. And I thought the rest of his life, anybody who was watching that show when they see him is going to say, "Hey, Richard, how you doing?" And he will turn because he'll know exactly what they're talking about. Or I guess they could call him Dick. Do you think they will refer to him as Richard or Dick in order to let him know they were listening or watching that night? What would you say to him now that you've been told the story?
Depends how well I know him. If it was somebody I know well, then I'd totally eat him up. If it was somebody I was meeting, I would defer.
Yeah. I would say Richard because I would like to see him respond because I know he knows what I'm talking about. No one has ever called him Richard in his life, and I almost want to interview him on your show here and say, all right, since that night, how many times have you been called Richard and how many times have you been called Dick? You're not aware of this, but we did a show wanting to find the youngest person named Richard referred to as Dick. 59. And that was no one younger than 59 because I'm 59 and that's how I grew up being Dick. And
the one I find every once in a while is I know a lot of guys whose name is John, but they call him Jack. How many people do that as much anymore?
I don't remember it ever growing up. We had a friend in the neighborhood, Johnny Johns. That what parent would name with the last name of Johns, name their kid John? So
my mom and dad always talked about Jack Kennedy.
Yeah, that's a great example. Yes. He was referred to as Jack by almost everyone, right? His family, everybody in the family.
Yeah.
All right, just because the show's gotten off on exactly the start that I wanted. But today is a historic day, and Pebble can look it up. It is the day that Harry Carey died. And I believe it was 1998. I will never forget it because after my radio show, which finished at 7 or 8, I'm driving on the major road in Milwaukee, Wisconsin Avenue. and you go over a bridge, and I'm listening to WGN or whatever. They was just talking, and Harry Caray to me was one of the greatest announcers ever, not to mention all the other stuff that went with him. My father-in-law was good friends with Vince Lloyd, so he set up a interview with me when I was just a young radio guy going to Wrigley Field. And, yeah, Harry, get over here. This is my childhood friend as he married his daughter, and just do this interview. Just like that, talking to Harry Caray. Hey, just do this interview. Harry came over, did the interview, was the nicest guy. But I'm listening so much, I didn't realize how fast I was going. A cop pulled me over for speeding. Now, I know now that you can't go over the bridge over 40. Pulls me over and he goes, do you know how fast you were going? I said, officer, no, Harry Caray just died. I'm listening on the radio, and I was just so focused on that, I have no idea. He goes, nice story, but I'm still giving you a ticket. You were doing 46 or something. And I received some speeding tickets when I was younger. Not a ton, I probably hadn't had one in 10 years. And it's like, I didn't really say, come on. It's like, well, okay, I don't have anything. I don't regret that I was listening that closely that I wasn't aware of going over 40. So,
well, twice, two things. One, my buddies and I got picked up outside of Dallas as we were driving back. And it was because we were listening to the Mets and the Red Sox World Series, and the ball had gone through Buckner's legs. And we tried to explain to the guy why we maybe had been excited.
Wow, the same story, but different. And did they give you no respect, too?
The ball in first, and it went under his – and
yes.
The guy said, that's great. But he gave us a ticket anyway. Same kind of thing. And the first recollection I have of Harry Caray, which is really odd, is I was at a Brewer game. My dad, for Christmas, for my birthday, we used to always go down back in the day and go to either a Friday night or a Saturday night game. I got to stay over in a hotel, which was amazing. And then we'd go to a Saturday or Sunday day game. And we did that for 5 or 6 years, the best time of my life. And we went, and they were playing the White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
And that night, Harry was there, and he was in full swing. He had the fishing net, and he was sticking it out the window and trying to catch foul balls. And I'm like, well, that's really crazy. I didn't know who that was at the time. And then the next day on the day game, before the game, we're sitting there, and he's literally just, 6-8 rows behind home plate with his shirt off, oiled up, just getting a suntan before he went up in the booth.
Now, this was when he was doing the White Sox games, correct?
He was doing the White Sox games.
Yeah, with Jimmy Pearsall.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then I came down here, obviously, to go to school, and I did not realize he had been, a longtime guy with the Cardinals before he and
Jack Buck.
Before they did that.
You know why he got fired?
I've heard the rumors. I don't know for sure.
The rumor was he was fooling around with the owner's wife. Now, I don't know if that's the rumor that you heard. I believed it totally, but I actually never checked on it. But
yeah, I don't have confirmation, but that story rolls around these parts as well.
Now historically, that has to be the greatest announcing pair ever, right? I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I don't know. Did Mel Allen work alone? But they were, it's pretty darn good. Or, as I like to think, Bob Uecker with anybody.
Yes.
So, but that's a lot of years and a lot of baseball for sure between those two guys.
No, and I had no interest in being any sorts of an announcer, but living in South Bend, we would get the White Sox. And it wasn't on GN. It was on like Channel 32 or something. It's one of those independent stations. And to this day, there's never been anything like it. I don't know if somebody hasn't done the YouTube. How many times I heard Harry Caray say to Jimmy, did you take your meds today? I mean, 20 times.
Yeah,
and
Jim
then he always come. No, but he never did during the games. And I never thought, but it's like Harry would just say it, and he would ridicule the White Sox players. Bill Veeck is, I guess, who brought him in, and then Harry left to go to the Cubs, which didn't sit well with Milo Hamilton, I think, who had been brought in to do the Cubs. And next thing you know, Harry's there. But aside from that, they would Billy Pearsall would rip players on the White Sox and be like, "What the heck is that shortstop coming up? He was hitting 185 in the minors. I was hitting 305 in the minors and could never get called up. And then Harry Caray would make some comments, say, the guy looks like a 210 hitter. And Billy Pierce would go, nah, looks like a 185 hitter to me. They were just things that I've never heard in any baseball play-by-play ever since. And I don't know why, if anybody's ever put a tape together, but that was.
They were not. Hey, listen, they were not Merle Harmon and Bob Uecker, who I got to grow up on.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I agree with you. I went to L.A. and everybody told me how good Vin Scully was, and I said, Euchre's way better. They're like, what do you mean? Well, with Vin Scully, you're supposed to sit down in a chair and listen to every word he says. I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. And I said, with Uecker, he clearly understood the pace of the game, and when he was going through, it's like nothing's happening. But when there was something important, or the pace of the game changed, you knew if it was an important or unimportant point of every game he ever did, based on his flow and everything. And I said, people in L.A. didn't. You got to listen to Uecker. He's 100 times. I exaggerated it a little bit even back then. He's 100 times better than Vin Scully. If they could, they'd have shot me in the head, I think. But
yeah, I don't know about 100 times. I enjoyed Vince too, but you're right. He could make a story last to through a whole couple of innings,
right.
And
I don't want the guy reading me a book.
Well,
but
I always like that. I just don't want the pitch to interrupt the story. Right? Like every once in a while, yes. That's the only time the story was in a row was to have the pitch. Go ahead and tell me the.
And it was like the pitch was an aside to the story. No, Correct. It's not supposed Correct. To be that.
This pitch got in the way of my story. But he was an eloquent man and a great lover of baseball. And I thought he was always a wonderful listen whenever I got a chance to listen to him too.
No, I would say that's also accurate. There was probably never anyone that did it like he did. I was just always in awe of. I thought that Bob Uecker was one of the great comedians ever. And compared to other comedians, not baseball players or whatever.
Some would say he was not a trained comedian, nor was he a trained baseball player.
Yeah. But I objected to that, and I even told him that once. I said, you tell everybody how bad you are, but I know. He goes, what do you mean, I go, like, there were only like 8 teams or whatever. There were 16 catchers in the National League or whatever. You were one of 16. You had to be good just to be on a team. He goes, thanks, but I wasn't. I mean, but that's, people need to know that. And and again, it was hard to even be a backup catcher.
There were not a lot of spots, and he was, and even to hit like 200's not. Yes. I get that that's not all-star stuff, but I could not.
And he was a good defensive catcher. He told the joke about the knuckleballs, but the reality was, and I don't know who told me this, that he was a pitcher before he was a catcher, and they changed him.
I don't know anybody that could hitting 200. How about just stand in a cage, have a major leaguer throw it, and see if you could even touch 20% of the balls? You couldn't.
Well, and then I don't care if he hits 60. How many home runs off to Sandy Koufax? I think he had a couple. I mean,
his big thing was he had one off Koufax.
I think he had more than one. One off Gibson or no?
Jenkins and
yes.
And one off. He had three Cy Young
I got to check. I think he had more than one off Koufax, but I could be wrong, and this is bad because
every once in a while you run into one.
Yeah, not on Sandy Koufax. I always thought Koufax, like, how devastating was that for him? I don't know that he ever talked about it. I saw when Uecker passed away a story where they had Hank Aaron talking about where he'd said he and Joe Adcock and Eddie Matthews would sit down and start talking about hitting. He said Bob would come over and we go, Bob, there's no need. There's no need. There's need. I don't know if it was true or not, but it was as funny a line as I ever heard Henry Aaron use because comedy wasn't necessarily his area of expertise. But no, I think, but that didn't fit.
Did you just call him Henry Aaron?
Did I call him what?
Henry Aaron?
Yeah, I don't know which is the right one. I'm like,
well, I always like I think in the Howard Bryant, who wrote a wonderful biography of him. Like he more often he equated Hank Aaron sort of more as the baseball player, and Henry Aaron is more of the person.
Oh, okay.
And how that went. So I just think it's unique to like, I don't know anybody. I always say Hank Aaron, right? Because I don't, but it's, but I've heard, Henry and many people call him.
Well, no,
that.
I said Henry because I didn't grow up here, and Henry Aaron in the era of Mantle and Mays didn't exist. There was Mays or Mantle, and then you had Henry Aaron, Roberto Clemente, others, but there was never a day that I gave any thought that he was close to being in their league. And, of course, realistically, he was very, very close, even if he hadn't set the records he did. I mean, he was that good.
The song was Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, not even Willie,
correct.
Mickey, and Hank.
Right. Right. Duke was – I'm old, but Duke was before my time.
There you go.
And even the greatness of Mickey Mantle was before my time. The people have no idea, like – Mickey Mantle in the 50s, before he hurt his knee, he was like Babe Ruth. There's no like I saw Bob Conso, like he was the fastest player ever to first base, like in the history of baseball.
I think I told you I've been to Oklahoma twice before I moved there. Once was to see OU play Missouri. We lost 77-0. That was sort of poor. And then I went, as I was driving through, we went to see Commerce, where his hometown was, and see the dents he used to put in the barn behind his old house, just because we thought that much of Mickey Mantle. He was great. He was a great. I was looking around my office. I don't have it in here. I have an autographed picture of him from when I was about 8. But he was famous for paying his golf debts with a check, because he knew nobody would ever deposit a check that they had.
I've never heard that. That is spectacular. Yeah. I could see, well, Uecker probably wouldn't have thought that. He probably said, I tried the same idea, and 5 of them were cashed the first day. He must not have heard that story. Oh, wow, he did that. Yeah.
Well, that makes even track your checkbook hell, but I get where if you had to write somebody $100, write them a $100 check, and then all they did was one frame it and put it in their office, and nobody took it to the bank.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Yeah, there's no. I actually, for the first time in my life, bought a signed Don Hudson thing because I thought I'm actually now Don Hudson. You get this, people don't know who the hell you are. You're too old. I'm thinking Vince Lombardi has become Don Hudson. I got something from Paul Hornung, and every time I talk to anybody, I always say, I just have to tell you, unless you're old, you have no idea. The Green Bay Packers were Paul Hornung and the Green Bay Packers. Nobody else even mattered. They won a title, and Ray Nitschke was on What's My Line because no one knew who he was. Paul Hornung retired on The Tonight Show. There's no way to describe. Aside from Muhammad Ali, he was as big as an athlete. Maybe somebody said Frank Gifford because he played for the Giants. But Hornung trumped him. So... But it doesn't matter. They just look at me like I'm Don Hudson. It's really hard. Old, they talk about, Father Time never lost. Yeah, but Father Time never loses when you tell stories. I got to have newer stuff. Paul Hornung's Don Hudson. I have great Robin Yount stories, but they don't want that anymore. They want Christian Yelich or Giannis. You're not there yet, but I'm giving you a heads up.
Okay, you saw Devontae Adams stories already are old. I told that to somebody. Maybe I said it on this program too. When somebody said, "Do your students know that maybe you might be famous?" I said, "I last was on air at the end of June. I might as well be a World War II correspondent to them." That's how fast things go.
Right. So I don't know I don't know that you can't slow it down. Just. I said I gave a speech. I said the next time I speak, I'm going to have to remember all the movies I've seen with our granddaughter, and talk about Bluey, this show that kids, 5-year-olds, just so they can look at me and go, all right, the guy's old, but he's still alive. They're going to bring up Captain Kangaroo and
Bozo the Clown.
Bozo the Clown. What? You have no idea how big Bozo the Clown was. I don't really care to know how big he was, I don't care how good Don Hudson was. That's what I said about Don Hudson. Don't tell me about Don Hudson. Everybody who saw him play is dead. All right.
Most everybody.
All right, we'll get to Devontae Adams. Jason Wilde with the professor next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on 94.5 ESPN.
Westbound 94, slowing down from 16th Street all the way to Mitchell Boulevard. So pretty typical stuff. Then we've got more delays west of Highway 100 all the way into Waukesha County, all the way to Sunny Slope Road. On the eastbound side, we got some backups from about 76th Street all the way through the Stadium interchange. Southbound 41, heavy from Silver Spring down past Capitol Drive. We've also got some delays along southbound 4394 as you're making your way down from downtown all the way to Layton Avenue. You are looking at about a 10-minute ride. Most of the delays happening between the Marquette and the KK River crossing. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast. Tonight, mainly clear, very cold, a low of 3 below at the lake, 8 below inland, with a wind chill of 10 below to 25 below. And then tomorrow, partly to mostly cloudy, flurries possible later on with a high of 14. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
All day, every day. The Carbless Talk and Text line is open for you.
First off, there is not one team that's on the fringe that scares me.
800-990-3776. The Carbless Talk and Text line. This is more.
Earth Justice is a national legal nonprofit fighting to save lives, protect our climate, and strengthen our economy through the shift to zero emissions. Visit us at earthjustice.org. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
The wait is over. Brewers baseball is back. Time to pick your Brewers games and get back to the ballpark for tailgate traditions and walk-off wins. Be here for opening day. Come back for the big games and the best giveaways. Where else would you want to be? Brewers tickets for the 2025 season are on sale now. That's opening day and every game, all summer long. Get on board for the show today. Grab your seats at brewers.com/ticketfinder.
At Gruber Law Offices, we take great pride in helping those who have trusted us after a serious accident. Our team has the knowledge, resources, and experience to get you the results you deserve. Don't wait to get the help you need. Make the right call. Call Gruber Law Offices today. Proud partner of your Milwaukee Bucks. One call, that's all.
It's really been amazing, the amount of people that I've had contact me, and the talk is generally centered around QC Kinetics, and whether it's a knee, whether it's a back, a hip, shoulder.
He's always happy to talk about how QC Kinetics all-natural regenerative treatments finally gave him relief without surgery. That's former pro football player Bobby Carpenter.
My message to them is do not wait and push off a week, a month, whatever it is. So if you want to feel better this summer, now would be the time to get in. If you want to feel better in the fall, make sure that you're getting in here so you can go out and play golf and do the things that you love and enjoy.
Spoken by a man who experienced relief firsthand. QC Kinetics gave this former pro athlete back his mobility, his activity, and they'll do the same for you.
Has really helped me in just my general quality of life.
Don't wait. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today. QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
Ready to tackle your home improvement project this winter? Exterior Pros and Baths is here to help you score big with quality home exterior and shower upgrades. As a 5-time President's Club Award winner, Exterior Pros is not playing around. With flexible financing, it's never been easier to invest in your home without breaking the bank. Get started today and save $2,000. Visit extpros.com or call 262-800-4274. That's 262-800-4274. Trust the pros and kick off your home transformation today.
This is the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN. It's time for Jason Wilde on the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
What a segment. The Professor, John Anderson, and Jason Wilde, and they both have to answer a question before they get started. Pebble, read it. Pebble just put it up.
All right, Discount Liquor Twitter poll question for today at the Homer Hour at ESPN Milwaukee. Do you give Packers GM Brad Gutekunst credit for making a good selection in drafting Jaire Alexander? Yes or no?
Take Take it away, Professor.
Yeah, I think anytime you draft a guy who can be an All-Pro or a Pro Bowler a couple times, yeah, I think that counts. That eventually that thing somehow happened where he just decided that he wasn't going to play much anymore. Again, as to exactly how hard that is, I don't know. But yeah, I don't blame him. I thought that was a nice pick. That's okay. I'm not against that.
Right, Jason.
Yeah, that's the correct answer. The guy's a two-time second-team All-Pro. He was one of the best at his position for multiple years. I would argue he was never the same player, even though he did regain the shoulder injury tackling Najee Harris. He was, despite being a diminutive guy who would have not met the criteria that Ron Wolf used to have for corners, he was a willing, able, and physical tackler. And then after that, during the 21 season, when he jacked up his shoulder on that tackle and missed the rest of the regular season, and I think that was in week 4 that happened, or week 6, he was just never the same player. So, yeah, that's part of it. But still, he was an elite-level corner. The part that, we all know he was disenfranchised or whatever you want to call it in 2023. He didn't like Joe Barry. He skipped the offseason program. He didn't like the scheme. And then he came back in 2024 with a new scheme, a new coordinator, a new strength and conditioning staff, and he was like a new man. Remember he had that pick 6 in Tennessee in week 3? And you were like, the old Jaire is back. I know I thought so. I know Domofsky thought so. I know Matt LaFleur thought so. And then, he injures the knee in Jacksonville. I thought Rob's wording in his story was very interesting because I had been using it as well, because the only person who ever actually said publicly that he had a PCL tear was Jaire Alexander himself. And I always wondered if there were people inside the building who were questioning whether or not he could have been playing, should have been playing, etc. And Rob obviously reported that there were multiple people inside the building that privately questioned why he wasn't playing and the seriousness of the injury, which we all kind of knew, but Rob wrote it. So I think the way it ends, which it is, in my opinion, definitely ending, certainly tarnishes it. But the guy was a pretty damn good football player when he played football. The problem is, over the last 2 seasons, he played in 14 games in the regular season, and he missed 20, and that is not a good percentage.
All right, 7-2.5, take over.
So what happens to him next? Right, even if they let go, give me the sort of the whole timeline, right? Because if they release him before the new calendar, the new NFL year, or after makes caps hits, I feel like his cap hit's going to be fairly easy to absorb compared to other ones.
Yeah, they're actually going to save, on balance, $6 million in cap space if they cut him, because he will count $17 million and change in dead cap money, but he was supposed to make almost $24 million. So they actually save cap room by moving on from him. So that's not a bad thing, right? On top of that, I don't think, given where they're at in terms of their salary cap position, remembering that they spent the 2023 season absorbing every penny of Aaron Rodgers' dead $41 million in cap charges, they're in great cap shape. If they want Myles Garrett, if they want Max Crosby, if they want T. Higgins, if they want Devontae Adams, from a cap perspective, there's no reason why they can't have any of those guys. That's not an issue. So I wouldn't think that Goody and Russ Ball would feel the need, proud Missouri alum Russ Ball, would feel any need to kick the can down the road on some of those cap charges unless they've got really big plans for free agency, in which case maybe they do decide to kick the can down the road. And if they do, if they release him and then make him a June 1 cut, post-June 1 designation, then they got something cooking. Because there's no real reason from a cap space perspective to really do that. So that will be an interesting little tell that we may or may not get once we get to that point.
So then where does that put that position at on the draft board? If you figure Stokes hasn't been the same guy, Alexander's gone, where does that position quarterback go on my priority list now when I'm in the off-season discussions of free agents and acquisitions and drafts and those kind of things?
Like any great journalist and any great professor, you can tell your students, sometimes you ask questions you know the answer to, and you know what the answer is. It puts it high on that list. There's no denying that.
How high?
And so, well, but to me, look, first of all, I suppose there's the outside chance that Eric Stokes doesn't have a market and they bring him back on a prove-it one-year deal for depth purposes. But look, I think they feel good about a starting 5 in the back end in the nickel of Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney at safety, Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine at the outside corners, and Javon Bullard as their nickel. I think they like that fivesome. The problem is, as you well know, pretty damn hard to stay healthy all season. And then who are the next guys? Do they bring back Corey Ballantyne or Robert Rochelle the musical? They have, a guy that I think they like from a corner perspective in the 7th round pick, and now, of course, I'm blanking on his name, from Penn State, Kalen King, that they drafted last year and redshirted on the practice squad. I think they like him and his potential, so maybe he's, kind of another option at that position, but there's no doubt that and defensive line and wide receiver, in my opinion, given Watson's situation, given Dobbs' situation, and given the lack of elevation in year 2 that they got from Reed and Wicks, to me anyway, those, much like Josh Jacobs said, are on the priority list, both in free agency and in the draft. And then in the draft, the other thing, they have got to upgrade their depth on the offensive line. Like if it could not have been more obvious in a season where they were so fortunate injury-wise on the offensive line. Yeah, they lost Jordan Morgan to that shoulder injury that started in training camp and kept cropping up. But their tackles played the whole season. Their center missed one game, even though he tore his pec against the 49ers. He kept playing the rest of the year, which says something about a guy that's headed into free agency and probably isn't going to be back. And then Elton Jenkins getting hurt against Philly, that's what lost them the game, right? Even more so than the 4 turnovers, because they couldn't protect Jordan Love to save their lives with Telly Monster, Kadeem Telford, and Travis Glover. So, to me, this is a team that somehow simultaneously is not that far away and yet has some pretty glaring needs. And when they move on from Jaire Alexander, that is a glaring need. And look, that's not me talking either. The fact that Josh Jacobs is saying that corner is a need. The fact that Keyshawn Nixon is proclaiming, I'm not going to return kicks anymore because CB1s don't return kicks. Well, if they were keeping Jaire Alexander, I don't think Keyshawn Nixon would be saying of his friend, I'm the new CB1 if Jaire's going to be on the team. So I think it's kind of everyone is resigned to this, and it's just a matter of when, not if.
So this is I've already figured out as sort of a homer pet peeve is that the Packers' lack of kind of off-season movement. But if you give you could make the argument that Goody is better in rounds 3 through 7 than he is in rounds 1 and 2. In that case, why don't they try something bold? Be like the Rams. Where'd the Rams go? 6 years without a number 1 pick? Move some of that stuff. You seem to do fine. You do fine in the rounds 3 through 7. You can find a bunch of what you need. Take some of those big ones and go be splashy.
First of all, he's not fine in round 3. Sean Ryan turned out to be better than we thought he was. We'll see what Tyron Hopper ends up being. But round 3 remains a problematic round for him.
Okay.
He seems to be great in 4 and 5, and pretty good in 2, right? I mean, Javon Bullard is good. It looks like, obviously, Edgerrin Cooper is very good. I still think Watson is a good player.
Let's get some 1 and 3s.
Yeah, just trade the ones. Yeah, trade the 1s and 3s. Get a bunch of second rounders or get players. Yeah, I'm on board with that. Now, again, look, all it takes is getting one right? He has. Do I think Quay Walker? There's reason to still think Quay Walker could be a good player. I do. Devontae Wyatt, I have reservations about him. I think he's flashed. I think there's been moments where you felt good about him. But overall, yeah, I mean, Goody's had some really, really good drafts. And the 2022 draft, which is all, coming to maturation now, is the one that they got to figure out what they're going to do. Both their tackles are day 3 2022 draft picks, right? Zach Tom was a 4th. Rasheed Walker was a 7th. Can you be better than those guys? I don't think you can be better than Tom. I think he's really good, and I think the reason he wasn't that great this year was because he played with a torn pec and was never the same after he had that injury in the spring. But I don't know. How confident are you in Rasheed Walker as a long-term left tackle for this team? You have to figure out what you're doing with Watson, who's in a contract year and is going to miss half of it. You have to figure out how confident you are that Romeo Doubs, A, is okay with his concussions, and B, isn't going to flake out like he did when he was unhappy with his role earlier in the year. And then you have to figure out what are your 2 first-round picks from that draft going to turn into, because they sure are talking like both of them are going to get their 5th-year options. So if that's the case, I just rattled off 6 guys from that class, all of whom are starters or quasi-starters, that you have decisions to make on and have uncertain futures.
All right, Jason, I got to interrupt because they keep telling me we're late, and I have a question for both of you. I don't give any credibility.
Yeah,
first time. I don't give any credibility to Aaron Rodgers going to the Vikings. You can both address that. I am certain what's going to happen. 100%. A team in this year's draft that takes a quarterback in the first round, early first round, will not want to play that quarterback this upcoming season. They will bring in Aaron Rodgers to play for a year and then go with that young quarterback the following year. 100% certain. So you can either address my club or the thought of the Vikings. Jason?
Yeah, I never understand why you have to go 100%. I like that theory. I like it a lot. I don't like it at 100%, but that's you, and you got to do you. I really want. If Aaron Rodgers called me right now and said, "Hey, once again, the Homer Hour is running late. I'm going to beep in, so
you want
have
him to
hang
go
up
to the
with him to
Vikings?
talk to
I
me."
know that. Come on, it's a great story.
Well, no. It is, and I definitely do want that from a writer's perspective. But if he called me and said, "Jason, I've gotten a lot of bad advice over the years. You've always been good to me. What do you think I should do?" I would say, I think you need to humble yourself and say, I'm not going to put demands on the coach and the GM. I'm not going to be as rigid with this is what you have to do to play with me at quarterback. I'm going to be the fun Uncle Aaron if I go to a team with young guys, like I was during that training camp on Hard Knocks before I ruptured my Achilles. I am so pissed that my final year with the Jets was such a blanking train wreck that I'm going to get back to being the guy that saved the letter from that jackass from Purdue who told me, good luck with your attempt at a college football career. I'm going to be that same guy that arrived in Green Bay pissed off that I fell in the draft and had to sit in the damn green room at the Jacob Javits Convention Center for hours on end and then sit behind Favre, who was mean to me for 3 years. I'm going to be that guy, and I'm going to show this whole blanking league that I am not washed. And whoever gets me, they're going to get the perfect teammate and the perfect leader, and I'm going to play. I'm not going to be as mobile as I used to be, but I showed I could still sling it as bad as the Jets were, and I'm going to go back and play the way I know I can. That's the advice I would give him. I don't think he's interested in my advice, but I think if he does that, I still think he's got plenty left to be able to do that stuff.
Thanks, Jason.
And wherever he does it, I want to see it.
Yeah, by the way, we'll get 7-2.5 after the break because I want to tell you now, you know what I want Aaron Rodgers to do more than anything else? Call you. Thanks, Jason.
All right, guys. Take care. Be good.
American Place Casino. That's right, a half hour south of Franklin and 38 minutes if you want to be precise. And yes, I need to say it more often because I don't have people complaining just yet. American Place Casino, half hour south of Franklin, exactly 38 minutes. Yes, located in Lake County, Illinois. Great table games, great slot machines, got the sports book, great food. Get to all the information, AmericanPlaceCasino.com. They had a great party a couple of days ago, but I'm the expert on one thing. Just a half hour south of Franklin, 38 minutes if you're a pain, located in Lake County, Illinois. 7-2.5. What's he going to say about Aaron Rodgers? Next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up on ESPN Wisconsin. Join Homer on the trip of a lifetime to see the many shades of Ireland in August. Text Homer to 800-990-3776 for info.
Southbound on 41, still heavy from about Silver Spring all the way down past Capitol Drive. Southbound 43, not too bad, just a little heavy right past Locust, and then again through the Marquette down to the KK River. Westbound 94, backed up from 16th Street to about Hawley Road, back on the brakes from Highway 100 all the way past Sunny Slope Road. On the eastbound side, we got delays from just east of 84th Street to 35th. Escape to the Knickerbocker on the lake. Enjoy stunning lake views, luxurious rooms, and exceptional dining. Experience timeless charm and modern luxury in the heart of Milwaukee. Book your stay at knickerbockerontheLake.com. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast. Tonight, mainly clear, very cold with a low of 3 below at the lake, 8 below inland, with a wind chill of 10 below to 25 below. Tomorrow, partly to mostly cloudy. Flurries possible later on with a high of 14. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazagon, 94.5 ESPN.
It's a Marquette game day tonight. The number 18 Golden Eagles welcome Seton Hall to Milwaukee.
Marquette with the basketball. Cam Jones, open three. Pure.
There you go.
Sweet. Our coverage starts at 7 with Brian D. and Marquette College Game Day. Gabe Neitzel has the Marquette Sports Network pregame show starting at 7:30. Homer and Marquette Hall of Famer Tony Smith have the call at 8. 94.5 ESPN is your official home for Marquette basketball. We are Marquette.
This is Kevin Moret from Mentality. Men, you're being robbed of your potential. Research shows a shocking 1% annual decline in testosterone levels. That's why building muscle feels impossible and your confidence is at an all-time low. But here's the truth. You're not alone in this uphill battle. Mentality's physician-directed, FDA-approved treatment doesn't just level the playing field, it restores your body's powerful balance. Our patients experience a documented 30% increase in their testosterone levels. Stop struggling and turn this around. Defy the odds and reclaim your masculine edge at mentalityhealth.com/radio.
James Imaging Systems. Local support, local accountability, local business technology representatives. Listen to Matheson Manufacturing President Al Leidinger.
She still checks in to see how things are going and if we need anything. So I really do appreciate that from a customer service standpoint.
Michael Quizan, IT Systems Administrator at Great Midwest Bank, discovered the benefits of working with the local team at James.
Our costs from supplies perspective went down. I mean, we're talking about thousands in a year. So we saved a lot of money by bringing James Imaging on.
James Imaging Systems client Luther Gray, Director of Ticket Operations and Group Sales with the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra, on dealing with James.
They are making sure you get the full value and life of every product that you have with them.
Local support, local accountability, local people. Get it all with James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com.
Stay up to date on the Green and Gold all off season. The Green and Gold Fix podcast is brought to you by Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Luxury stay, elite play, unwind in sophisticated comfort. Win big, dine, and experience the events in Milwaukee.
Get ready, Oak Creek. Tsunami Express is making a splash with a brand new location at 6900 South 27th Street. Join the grand opening celebration February 12th through the 23rd. Enjoy free washes and snag an unbeatable deal. Just $5 for your first month of unlimited washes. Plus, 100% of the grand opening proceeds go to Special Spaces Wisconsin, creating dream bedrooms for kids battling cancer. Make a difference while getting your car sparkling clean at Tsunami Express in Oak Creek. See you there. Offer valid for new members only. Terms and conditions apply.
Earth Justice is a national legal nonprofit defending the environment and people's health. Until justice stands for all, our lawyers will never rest. More at earthjustice.org/neverrest. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
You're listening to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
We'll get to 7-2.5, but I want to talk about Saganiac Planning, a name synonymous with employee benefits and top-notch service. That's what I said for 30 years. Then I realized I was selling them short. Saganiac Planning, a name synonymous with employee benefits, top-notch service, because they've been doing it well for over 50 years. That's how you can be that good. That's how you can simplify confusing insurance decisions. And now I got another one. Small enough to handle your needs with special attention and large enough to have the clout to make it happen. Yeah, you got to be large enough to have the clout, so when you're talking to these companies, they will deal with you because you're big enough that they want to take care of you, and then you benefit from that working with Saganiac Planning, and they are also small enough to handle your needs with special attention. Perfect size. Saganiac Planning, remember, 783-262-783. Roger Maris, 6161. I know Roger Maris is a long time ago, but we haven't found any other way to do 6161. Yes. With John Anderson, professor at Missouri, 7-2.5 or 220, because that's how high jumped, and he wants to do 220 because he wants this to become an international show, I guess, because nobody uses metrics in this country for anything, right? Is there anything that that people in America use metrics for? 2-liter, I guess.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, okay. Listen, I had two goals in my life. One was to stamp out the metric system in this country. So I only say 220. Like, I'm happy without it. And then I really wanted to get rid of soccer, and I haven't done a good job with that.
Did you really? How come?
Only because of this. I am so tired of hearing about the soccer revolution in America is right around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
It's been right around the corner for 50 years. That's all. I just want to say, like, it's okay. It's a very nice sport. Go crazy with the World Cup. I just don't know if it's ever going to sell out like the NFL.
Great point, because pickleball, for example, pickleball got hot the way people in soccer tried to sell soccer got. Pickleball got hotter in 2 years than soccer has in America in 20, right? Everybody does pickleball now.
I went to a World Cup game in '94 because it was going to be right around the country, right around the corner, and it just wasn't. Then when Pele went to, again, talk about Don Hudson, when Pele joined the Cosmos, soccer was going to take off around the country. It's been taking off for 50 years and it's not really gone anywhere.
That's right.
That's all. Just quit telling me it's going to happen, and it sneaks up on me, fine. But right now, I'm done forecasting.
It's been taking off like a bike. By the way,
yeah,
I want you to hear this, what Joe Buck, who I was always impressed with Joe Buck. I interviewed him once. You know, he went to Indiana University and then quit before he graduated because he got a job. I mean, maybe he was doing the car, whoever it was with. And I was impressed because I said, you never, ever tried to sell that you graduated. He said, no, because I didn't. I go, like, how many people just say, you know, I went to Indiana. No, I didn't graduate. So that's the truth. Joe Buck, about Bob Uecker. He was a great friend to everyone I grew up around, from his days as a Cardinal Teammates adored him. Carson loved him. He made my pop, Jack Buck, cry with laughter. He was so awesome to me, a gem. Like my dad, he left with the tank on empty. He had fun. I'll steal that line every day the rest of my life. Isn't that how you want to go? With your tank on empty? Isn't that the greatest tribute?
Or the number of people I got that I spoke to about it, whatever, were just like, what a life.
Yes.
Right? Like it was a life so well lived, so rich, so diverse that we should all, have not just running into presidents and kings and stars, but to be that humane in all that you did, to literally be a friend to all. Is
I'm going to write that one down too. A friend to all. Now, what I fear is that people will now tell me my tank is empty. No, that's not the point of what he said about Bob Uecker.
No, that was not the point. By the way, it's really cold. Everyone, make sure your tank should be in the top half. You don't want to risk getting moisture in the thing. Always make sure really cold weather.
Now, I never bought that. Does make a difference. Someone else said that, and I thought, come on. But when it's cold, more than half, right?
Got to be on the top half, and I know this to be true because my dad told me so. And so then there's that we're just not going to dispute that.
Did your dad leave with the tank empty? Mine definitely did. Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, pretty close. Right. The thing I will say about my father that I always that I most appreciate, that made when he passed away palatable. Because so many people always say, I wish I'd had one more day with my dad. I wish I could have done this. And while I wish I'd have had 10 more years with my dad, I did not need one more day with him to say everything I needed to say or to have him tell me he loved me or he was proud. Like, that was always great. I didn't need one more day with him to make up for some little piece that was missing. I'd love to have him here today. But that was a great calm that I took when he passed away, was just that I didn't need another day in that regard.
A great calm that I took away. I'm going to steal that too. We'll get 2.5, maybe if we have time on Rodgers next.
About Aaron Rodgers?
This was better anyway. I don't care.
The Homer Hour is back after this on 94.5 ESPN. What happens when you mix a 3-time Wisconsin Sports Writer of the Year with a Packers Hall of Famer?
I'm not going to get into the Kringle turnover game, so that's what it needs to be. I think his legs. Yeah.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
Like the pastry
Are you guys
turnovers.
Being serious?
You guys can't put two.
I got it. I did not get it. They don't call themselves Racine Danish turnovers.
Sorry. Sometimes I wonder about you two, man.
Catch him from 9 to noon right here on 94.5 ESPN, the Wisconsin On Demand app, and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Drum roll, please.
Carbliss is here with refreshing new flavors. Introducing their Tropical Bliss Variety Pack. Let the summertime flavors of blood orange, watermelon, raspberry, and grapefruit whisk you away from the winter blues. New flavors, same great Carbliss perks. Every handcrafted cocktail still has 0 sugar, 0 carbs, and just 100 calories. Find the Tropical Bliss Variety Pack in store wherever Carbliss is sold and enjoy your winter passport to paradise. Grab a pack today and discover why Bliss is more with Carbliss.
So many of our youth carry unimaginable burdens. Anger, depression, even thoughts of suicide. At Rawhide Youth Services, we recognize their pain. We help them find hope and healing. For those that need a second chance at life, we refuse to give up on them. Please be a part of our life-saving work. When you donate your used vehicle to Rawhide, you're helping change the lives of countless youth in our communities. Go to rawhide.org/donate and help them realize a brighter future today.
Looking for a totally rad flavor adventure, brochachos? Look no further than Surfer Boy Pizza as seen in Stranger Things. Each mouth-watering variety contains rich tomato sauce, delicious mozzarella cheese, and a gnarly range of toppings. The crust is crispy on the outside and airy on the inside. You'll think it was hand-tossed by the Surfer Boy Pizza dudes themselves. Look for it in the freezer aisle at your local store and buckle up your taste buds with Surfer Boy Pizza.
It's the biggest savings event of the year. Menards' 11% rebate sale is here. Save big money on everything you need for any project. We've got something for everyone. Homeowners, contractors, DIYers, the kids, and even grandma. Get an 11% rebate on everything at Menards.
Save
11% mail-in rebate is a merchandise credit check. Good on future in-store purchases. See menards.com for details.
When two equally powerful opposing forces meet,
this is one of the best rivalries in the NBA.
Something has to give. These collisions can make entire cities shake. For centuries, the world's leading minds have tried to describe these cataclysmic events.
Do you believe this?
The National Basketball Association calls it Rivals Week. NBA Rivals Week. Heat versus Bucks and Celtics versus Lakers. Thursday from 7:30 Eastern on TNT.
Hey, it's ESPN Milwaukee's Kyle Wallace for Universal Windows Direct. February is here and love is in the air, but if you're not in love with the way your home feels this winter, Universal Windows Direct has the perfect solution with their Love Your Windows sales event. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and there's no limit. Need 4 windows, you pay for 2. It's the perfect way to save big while upgrading your home. Schedule your free in-home estimate or visit universalwindowsdirect.com, and like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
Who's looking for a deal? Well, Cousin Subs has a better deal just for you. Cousin's new $10 meal deals are now available online only. Choose between a 7.5-inch ham and provolone, turkey breast, or veggie sub, a bag of chips or regular fry, a regular fountain beverage, and cookie at cousinsubs.com or on the mobile app for just $10. Now that's a better deal. Cousin Subs, we believe in better. Available at participating locations only. Offer subject to change without notice.
Welcome back to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
It's Dame time on Season 4 of the Behind the Bucks forecast, presented by Gallagher. Explore Bucks superstar Damian Lillard's unlikely journey from a 2-star high school prospect to a top 75 player in NBA history. The series, narrated by senior NBA insider Chris Haynes, reveals exclusive details of Dame's trade to the Bucks and experience with the team. Find Behind the Bucks on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, and wherever you get your podcast. Behind the Bucks, presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and H&R benefits consultant. And now, 7-2.5 with maybe a few seconds left on Aaron Rodgers. And you got 60 seconds, 7-2.5. Whatever you want.
How long does it take? He's done. He's going to retire and go happily do something else.
You think so?
No, I don't think he can accept that. But I don't think his personality will allow him to do what Jason suggested. I just don't think. That's like John McEnroe saying, I really want to behave on court, and he just can't. Right? He takes over. And so I just think some of that's ingrained in his personality. He cannot. He'll find somewhere. I don't know that I buy the backup thing because I don't think he wants to go to a crappy team.
How about my plan? I love my plan. I'm so certain my plan is right.
But I will say this. He didn't screw up the Jets as much as the Jets screwed up him.
Whoa. We got to save that. I'll remember that. I'm old. I'll remember that to start with it next week. I want to follow up to that with the Professor John Anderson, 7-2.5, ESPN National, and then Marquette basketball at 7. The game tips at 8. Seton Hall, I didn't ask the Professor. Seton Hall over UConn, I believe, is the greatest upset in my lifetime in college basketball. We'll save that for next week, too.
We got a crash on the ramp from 60th Street to 894 eastbound, so watch out for that. That's backing things